Well, hello, and welcome to another Podcast Valley Sunday. I am one of your hosts, Chris Paco.
I am the other host, Jeff Cameron.
How's it going, Jeff?
It's pretty darn good. How about you, Paco?
Doing well. It's nice. It's getting brisk in the air.
Ooh, chillsome it is.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Hoodie weather is the best weather.
It is, especially after the summer. Like, even in the spring, because you shed the jacket, you're in the hoodies, you're excited. And in this fall, you've shed, like, sweating all the time, put on a hoodie. It's always good. But here we are. This is the last episode of the season, of season
How
1.
How about that?
I can't believe it.
Yep, episode 32, Monkees on Tour.
Yes, I believe this one's probably a fan favorite for every fan.
Definitely.
They love Monkees on Tour. I've been looking forward to getting to this one the whole season.
For a number of reasons, yes.
Yeah, and it's just so cool. It's like you take the Monkees out of the screen, you take them out of the box, and you see them in real life. They shot it on film, and it just has that real feel to it.
Yeah, totally.
And it's fun. It's also fun because they always seem to be getting along with each other, which is always fun.
Definitely.
And it's great times. Great times this episode. May as well get right into it. It's written and directed by Bob Rafelson, this episode. Mm-hmm. And originally aired on April 24th, 1967. It leads up to big things. Like, the Monkees are riding the highest probably ever. Almost.
For real.
This episode will be set up a little differently because, the episode itself is different from every other episode. And also there was so many commentaries and so much information coming in. We'll be going through it not like, and then Davey does this, and then Mickey does this, and then Peter cries, and then someone has a gun. It'll be more of a...
Wow, you just described about 13 of the episodes, at least.
And then gangsters show up in a haunted mansion. But, so get ready for that. It's a very special Podcast Valley Sunday. Let's say that.
Of course. They're all special in their own way.
Yes, it's true.
They're like snowflakes.
Yes, or kids. So I'm heard. So I'm told. I don't know.
Yeah, totally.
Like when you're done with kids and they melt in spring and you don't have to shovel them anymore. That's my favorite part. So we open up and Davey's sitting in like a rocking chair at the pad, doing this heartfelt thank you to everyone for watching.
Hello. This is the last show of the season, and we'd really like to thank you for watching. A lot of groovy things have happened to us this year, and we really appreciate it.
You've got to think about when the Monkees pilot aired, and these 4 dudes had this gig finally, like, a steady gig. This will be cool. And it cut to April when they put out 3 records. They're going on tour. They've met the Beatles. You know what I mean? It's like, what an insane year for those 4 guys. And I couldn't even imagine it. I couldn't imagine the life change they went through during this thing. And then, like, Mickey, Peter, and Mike, they're all dressed as old men. And you can see that Mike and Peter have real beards underneath their fake beards.
Yep, this is headquarters times.
Yeah. No, and it's fantastic looking. And then Davey says they want to show what takes place on the day of a concert. And that's essentially what that episode is. They set this up really well.
Yeah.
And
just get right into it. I had to explain it and thank the fans. And hey, here's this.
All right. So in the Bobby Hart commentary, it was I gotta say it was kind of sad whenever he talks about. He says, "Oh, my partner Tommy Boyce," because obviously Tommy Boyce is no longer with us. And and he talks about writing the Monkees theme and how they came up with it while they were walking down the street to a park so they could write it. And that's where that line came from, I guess, while they were walking, which is kind of funny. And it was the first song they came up with for the Monkees. And they came up with that and the Kellogg's commercial, which is also included on the Blu-ray version of this. Like after Davey's intro thing, it goes into the Kellogg's commercial.
The Monkees, brought to you by Kellogg's. K-E-L-L-O-double good. Kellogg's best to you.
So they said that they produced the Kellogg's commercial and wrote the song. And in Peter's commentary, he says, I'm Peter Tork. I'm a former member of the Monkees, which I thought was a funny way of saying it.
I'm not sure when he recorded this commentary because they kind of have different commentary times recorded for different collections, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, some of these they're not new to this package.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I think Mike's is probably the most recent because he comes out of the box pretty hilarious, saying with wordplay on reminiscences. He says it like 6 times.
Yeah.
And he's essentially saying like they couldn't believe how popular they became as a real band. Like that was never in the cards at the beginning, and now all of a sudden they're going on tour and they're doing all this stuff, and it's such a trip. So there's the aforementioned Kellogg's commercial happens, and it's funny to watch, and it's a funny jingle and stuff. It's just neat to see that in there.
It's neat to see the parachute out the back of the Monkey Mobile, and of course it says Kellogg's on it.
Yeah, of course it doesn't say Monkees or Screen Gems or anything. It says Kellogg's. I wonder how Kellogg's worked that in. We need a logo in there somewhere. Well, we're holding the boxes. No, something bigger like a parachute. Well, we got one of those on the back of the Monkey Mobile. Put our logo on it and then rock the film back and forth. So anyway, we there's the intro and we cut back to the airport. There's a whole bunch of kids who are going crazy. And they talked to some girls who are really excited, and they said they didn't even know this was happening. This happened so fast. So they're holding like a little picture of the Monkees. And they talked to one girl who says, "It's the Monkees? I thought it was the Rolling Stones."
That's the group Monkees. I thought it was the Rolling Stones.
Not only is it awesome she said that, but it's awesome they kept that in. Like, I think that shows them, they're almost like, they know what they are to people. You know what I mean? Like they could poke fun at themselves. Like this girl thought the Rolling Stones were here and it's the Monkees. Like I thought that was hilarious.
They all look the same, you know.
Yeah, they do.
All these long-haired mop-top lads.
Long-haired weirdos. These girl groups. So the jet lands and the boys show up and they shake hands with people through the fence and like run up and down the fence and girls are screaming. And there's one shot of like this kid. He's probably like 11 years old. Up at the top of the fence, face right beside the barbed wire. Like he's right there. And they're screaming, "We want the Monkees" and all that stuff. And it almost sounded like they took this stuff and put it in head for that part where they're like, "Give me a W, give me an A, give me an R." That whole screaming, "We want the Monkees" thing.
Yeah,
so similar.
They use their own crowd noise for other purposes throughout the second season, and you'll see. Yeah. And so the boys jump in the limo, and there's an older dude sitting there reading the paper or something, and they ask if he's waiting for the Monkees, and he says, "I'm waiting for Elvis."
You waiting for the Monkees? Oh, I'm waiting for Elvis.
And then the motorcycles zip them away to the hotel, and that's like the first scene essentially. But then like Bobby Hart starts talking, and he says the first ever Monkees show was in Honolulu on December 3rd, 1966.
Hey,
which 10 years later, Mr. Jeff Cameron was born, waiting for his backstage pass to that Monkey show. He's too late.
It's not a coincidence at all.
And he said after they got back from that show, Mike said to him, he's like, "We're bigger than the Beatles, and I can't even play the guitar." And he said the first tour was 6 days, or it was the last 6 days of 66 and January 1st and 2nd of 67. He said it was Denver, Memphis, Louisville, Salem, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Nashville, and Tulsa.
Wow.
So they pretty much stuck to that southwest corner of the United States. But
because it's the winter time.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're mostly in warmer spots.
Yeah, they knew what to do. They knew better than to go. We're starting in Buffalo. And then Peter, in his commentary at this point, he says like this was the only show where they weren't playing the starving musicians, but were like real performers, and that some people would say they're still just playing performers at that point. And he says they flew in on a Learjet looking real cool. And you catch a glimpse of like Ward Lester and all these names you see at the beginning of the show. They kind of pick them out throughout this. And he says because there's 4 of them, they couldn't all sit in the back of the limo, so one of them has to sit in the front riding shotgun every time. What a bummer. I wonder who always got that seat. Or if they switched it up. In Mike's commentary for this part, he says that they sounded like a garage band, but people wanted to see them live. So they put together a show with David Winter. And Rafelson said that they needed to film it because it's so crazy after he went to the first couple shows. So the show was about starving musicians, but then they'd get to play these big concerts in real life. So it's such a weird juxtaposition that Mike was, you know, 'cause in his Mike way, it was just like such an observation of it.
Yeah, and this episode is like, it's really them. It's them living through it and kind of reacting to it, and it's really, really them.
Yeah. And it's so cool because I don't know, obviously, television at the time, but something like this, like it's like a mini documentary of this thing.
It is. Like, there's no preset for this. Like, we could say, this is like just a little rock documentary. This is like, whatever, the year punk broke or something. Yeah. This is just like something but nobody did that yet.
Yeah.
Sergeant Pfeffer's not even out yet. This is like still early on in music and bands as cultural force, not just sock hop music.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it also kind of shows, like, I'm really glad they had this just to show that moment in time of like, look, this is what was going on with these guys. And like, when you think about the whole thing, like they're filming the show, they're making records, and they're touring, and it's just like, holy man, like these guys were busy. They were not.
And it was a good instinct by Rafelson to say, okay, we got to get the 16mm cameras out. We're going to shoot some shit for sure. Yeah, yeah. And even the way it's cut, fast cuts, like all that kind of stuff. It's cut like the show, and they put in the sound effects. And yeah, they did. Yeah. They do some stuff. Yeah, it's very interesting and very awesome, I have to say. So then it goes to the next morning, and none of them are happy to be up so early.
It's the morning, man. What can I tell you?
Rock stars.
Yeah, rock stars all of a sudden. I bet they had to be up early anyway for the show, but they're not at the show anymore, so they don't want to be up early. No. You cut to like Mike is doing his hair. He says that people always wonder why he uses all the products that a girl would use.
The thing that's odd is everybody laughs at me because I use all the preparations and all the things that a girl uses. I use it on my hair too, you know?
Brushing it this way, brushing it back that way, putting stuff in it. Davey's unimpressed at what time it is. He just walks by yelling that it's so early.
Some of you people are up very early, man. It's a drag.
There's general mayhem in the hotel room. It's like the 3 guys. Mickey's not there. There's a couple girls sitting there, and Mike, he pours his orange juice back in the thing and then spills it everywhere, and he just like gets up and is like, I've got to get out of here.
Yeah. I like that part.
And you could tell they're awkward about being on camera but not being on the show. It's like they don't know how to not be the caricatures of themselves in front of cameras, but they're trying to not be. But it just leaks through. Plus, there's girls there, so they're probably showing off to girls. And
they think they kind of have to perform.
Exactly.
A little.
Yeah.
But D. Caruso ain't feeding them the lines.
Exactly. You're on your own. Let's see how you swim now, fish.
Dang.
First thing I would have wrote was real talent.
Is there any truth to the rumor that D. Caruso is the Dark Knight himself, Batman?
I am Caruso. The Caruso signal goes up over West Hollywood. Somebody needs a rewrite. Let's put it on cruise control. I'll punch up your script like I'll punch up your face. Shut up.
All right. D, thanks for stopping by. I didn't think we'd hear from D today, but there he was.
He works his way in. I'm in every corner of this show. So that they tell Peter they've got to call Mickey to wake him up. And you can see like Mickey's totally passed out in bed. He doesn't care at all. And then there's a part where Davey's playing with this swan. Mm-hmm. He's like crawling around with the swan. The swan's like in angry mode. And Davey's really taking a chance there, I think. And one thing, when Davy's crawling away from the swan, he's like in his jeans only or whatever. That boy's ripped out. You can see like his abs and everything. It's like, holy moly, Davy, you should wear a shirt less often.
His upper body wear has gone missing. I think the swan may have got his what you got, Davy?
She's got my jacket.
And so Bobby Hart in his commentary, he starts talking about how his band, his and Tommy Boyce's band, was called the Candy Store Prophets. And they got to open for the Monkees and play their backup band for their solo sets. Mm-hmm. So it's like Tommy Boyce, Bobby Hart, a couple other dudes. And he said that the Monkees got free food when they went on tour, but the backup band didn't. So Davy would sign all of their bills so they could eat for free. So what a guy. What a guy.
What a guy.
Yeah. So, and he also said Davy was the first one to realize the Monkees weren't getting paid extra for concerts. It was just within their salary for the show, which is crazy. He says the first time the Monkees made money was in 1986 on concerts. That's the first time they actually got paid for concerts, which is crazy. It's crazy to me. But
some contracts are structured weird, and especially theirs, because theirs band on a TV show. They're performers acting as a band on a TV show, and that's probably how their contract was structured. And any activities they're in, performing vis-a-vis the Monkees, it's part of your job that you're getting this X amount of dollars for, and that's it.
Yeah. So I wondered, I guess Rafelson and Screen Gems were probably making some money. And maybe
someone had to be.
Yeah, the record label perhaps, I don't know. But yeah, it's very interesting. And in Peter's commentary, he says like, oh, there's a couple girls in that hotel room. He's like, I wonder who those girls were. Like, he has no idea why they were there, who they were. But they're just
superfluous birds.
Yeah, just sitting on the bed. And then Davy goes after the actual bird, the swan, in a weird twist. And so in Mike's commentary, he says that he didn't know how to act like himself when he was on camera because the lines were getting blurred between Mike Nesmith, the Monkees TV show, and Mike Nesmith, the Monkees band.
Yeah.
Which we were saying, which would be very weird. And he also said they had to take over the entire hotel whenever they went on tour because they had this huge entourage and all these people and all the fans. And so they had to learn the songs from TV, but they were also writing their own songs because music was so important at the time. So I couldn't imagine how busy these guys were, to be honest. And he said then that led to recording Headquarters because they had to learn these instruments anyways. They're writing their own songs, but then they weren't allowed to record their own songs, and we all know the story there. And then Headquarters comes out. And he says the Monkees were a pretend band that became real, which is exactly what it was, which is crazy. So we cut to and Mickey's outside now signing autographs. And he's just surrounded by kids. And then at one point he's just like not signing anything, just like in the air, just signing back and forth. Just because people just keep putting a piece of paper in his hand, he signs it, they take it away, signs it.
He's trapped in the automated autograph zone.
Yeah. And then they go to ride horses, and Davy asks for a rough horse. And the guy's kind of like, no, he's a jockey. He knows how to do this. Don't worry about it.
I'd like a nice rough one.
He's good. He's been a jockey.
And you see Davy on the horse, and he just knows what he's doing, as we've seen in many episodes, Davy riding horses, or several episodes. And Peter makes jokes about the horse's hair. Like, oh, your hair's almost as long as mine. Are you a boy or a girl horse? Ha, ha, ha.
What do you think of the long hair styles these days? My goodness, your hair is as long as mine. Are you a boy or a girl? Ha, ha, ha.
That kind of thing. And Davy asks his horse if he's ever wanted to ride a person.
I just want to ride you, man. You know, you ever wanted to ride a person?
Which is funny. It almost seems like an earnest moment with Davy and this horse, because Davy obviously would definitely have a connection with horses because he was a jockey for so long, so he knows how to talk to them and stuff. But it was pretty funny. And then Mickey, he's wearing he's not even wearing boots. He's wearing these little moccasin things. And then you see him afterwards putting Band-Aids on his feet because his feet got all chewed up from the horse stirrups. And Mike is not there. Mike is not riding horses.
Not there. He's at the mall.
Yeah. He is. He's walking the wrong way on the escalator at the mall. And And so Bobby Hart was saying like he couldn't get into the Denver show when he was on tour because no one knew who he was. But then by the time they got to play Toronto, which was like in 67, early 67, they had like Lear jets flying them around. And everybody knew their whole entourage. So he said, yeah, from the first show to like the 10th show, they'd become like an actual live staple band. And it was, people were knowing who they were, which is crazy. And then Peter, the only thing Peter says in his thing with this part is, where did Nesmith go? That's it. Which is kind of, at first you're kind of like, oh yeah, having all four of them together is very rare in this.
Yeah, because I don't know if Peter even points out, he's not at the radio station for the radio thing.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I didn't even notice that. See, they're so good at these illusions, you don't even notice. So they go to this radio station, and the coolest thing is that they roll up in the Monkey Mobile. Like the Monkey Mobile got flown there, driven there. And that
was a neat sequence when they're busting at the Monkey Mobile.
Yeah.
I like that part of this thing.
It's coming up. It's weird. It doesn't play in order, essentially. But, yeah, could you imagine just being there to see the Monkees and they roll up, like, in the Monkey Mobile? It'd be like that fourth wall just crashed down. It's like, oh, my God. This is crazy. And so the boys, like, take over the radio station, and Mike and Mickey have, like, a little shtick about, like, Collins. And he says, like, his chickens are all sleeping and they won't wake up and they're all cold and hard. And Mickey's like, well, sir, your chickens are dead.
Every morning I get up about 7:30 and wander out into the yard. There I notice that several of my chickens are now laying on the ground, cold and stiff with their feet in the air. Could you tell me possibly what is wrong with them?
Mr. Critchlow, your chickens are dead.
And here again, they use the theme within the show.
Yes, they do. That's true. Then Mickey goes out and he's like rolling around on roller skates with fans, and he sets up like a football game with a bunch of like little teenage dudes. And this is where they show Mike helping get the Monkey Mobile out of the truck, like backing it up and putting the ramps down. And man, to see that thing roll out of the back of a truck would be just the greatest thing.
For real.
Man, I hope we buy it one day. Hope this podcast takes off and they just give it to us for doing such a good job.
That's how these things go.
Like, you guys did a good job. Here's the Monkey Mobile. It's a sponsorship, right? That's how it goes. So then they go zooming around in the Monkey Mobile, and then at a mall, Mike is there and he's like, he kisses a mannequin, and he walks the wrong way down an escalator and all kinds of stuff. And then it cuts to them on motorcycles. Like these like Yamaha motorcycles. And at one point, Davey does this like wheelie, essentially slides off the back and is holding on for dear life, and it flattens out and he's on his stomach riding this motorcycle through the dirt. It's pretty funny. But also, man, they're doing pretty big jumps with these motorcycles.
That's true. Yes.
Not just like skimpy little jumps that I'd be doing. These are like real high in the air jumps, which is amazing.
I think Davey's jockey training and being able to hang on when you're losing your horse, I think it came into play here because he's just clinging to that thing.
Yeah, if it was Mickey, his like floppy moccasins would have got caught in the chain and his pants would have got ripped off or something like that.
Oh, man.
It would been hilarious for other reasons, I guess. And so with this whole thing with the fans, Bobby Hart saying that at one point during this show, I think, he feared for his life because they let the fans in this room and they just like crushed him against the wall. And he said like he couldn't breathe and he was scared. And he also says this was one of the highest rated shows from either season, this Monkees on Tour one, which is interesting.
That's secretly because ABC and CBS were running reruns that week.
No, there you go.
The Monkees were the only game in town because it's like a 30-second episode. I think they went long compared to most shows.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it also comes back to one thing we were talking about was this obviously wasn't on the original show list at the beginning of the season, right? So this is probably stuck on like, well, let's just put this on. It's only reruns. We'll probably get better ratings and blah blah blah, and it will shut some people up who say they don't play their own instruments.
For real, yeah.
Which I think was probably the biggest thing. So yeah, they say the boys Bobby Hart was saying that the boys had like cameras on them this entire time for these couple of days. Constant. The LA production team flew up to San Francisco and they couldn't believe Monkey Mania. Like they couldn't believe how big this fake quote unquote band actually was.
For real.
And Tommy Boy said to Bobby Hart that it should be them up there. It's like, we write the songs. Why aren't we performing these songs? Valid argument, I guess. And then Peter was saying that they love to take over radio stations when they come to towns, and it might be their greatest skill. And while he's watching it on the commentary, you just hear Peter giggling a whole lot, just watching them do their stuff. And then he says that Mickey needs the roller skates to get away from the fans, and that's why he's wearing roller skates so he can get away faster. And one time they got away from security and got swarmed by girls, like just on the street, and they had to run into the back of a cop car and ask the cop to take them back to their hotel. Like they just saw a cop car there, like a bastion of safety, and just jumped in the back seat. And that Honda gave them all those motorcycles. He said he wasn't sure if it was those ones they were riding, but Honda did give them all motorcycles, which is crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then Mike also talks about taking over the radio station and how it made them excited for the shows because they're in there doing their thing and playing records and getting calls and that kind of stuff. And he said,
for sure. It was probably a neat way to connect with the local fans.
Yeah, exactly.
They were getting a little show in their town with the Monkees that was just clearly just making shit up on the spot.
Yeah.
But having a lot of fun with it and hopefully winning over some new fans too.
Yeah. And also it was funny because they cut to the DJ and he's like tied up with a gag in his mouth on the floor at one point, which is great. Mike also says they loved bringing other musical acts on the show, like when he brought in Frank Zappa and all that other kind of stuff. And he said the first season, the public was enamored by the Monkees and loved the Monkees. But by the end of the second season, this backlash has started to take over. And he said, because The Girl I Know Somewhere is playing, and he says that was an attempt to write a less country song because the label didn't want country music. So he wrote The Girl I Knew Somewhere as a less country tune, and everybody played on it. It turned out really well, he thought.
This has been on a lot. Did it play? Has it been 4 shows in a row with The Girl I Knew Somewhere?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
But it's a song they recorded in the headquarters sessions. Maybe this is why we talked about it in a couple episodes ago, that in The Girl I Knew Somewhere, they don't have a performance piece of them wearing the shirts playing the song because they just recorded it like during this time, during the early headquarters sessions, because it's Davey on the drums, Peter on the keyboards. It's like one of the first Monkees playing the Monkees songs. So this song didn't exist when they were shooting the show itself, but it did when they were like putting the episodes together.
Yeah. And it also probably helped them push headquarters or whatever and be like, hey, look, here's more stuff.
Hey, it's us dudes, it's us.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, it's always a good song. It's always good to hear it anyway. Any way you can get it.
Love that too.
So Mike talks to a girl on the air, like he actually brings her in to talk to her, like in the studio.
Yes, if you really found out that none of us could play a note and couldn't carry a tune in the bucket, would you hate us?
No.
No? Why is that?
Well, because you're putting people on pretty good, you know.
That's great.
Mike says she's 18, but she looks like she's like in her mid-40s.
Yeah, she does not look 18. I thought that too. He's like, we got this little 18-year-old girl here with us. It might have been like the receptionist at the radio station. Who knows?
Like it's the radio. They won't know what you look like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just sound younger. And
but also you're going to be on TV.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's a shot of the marquee. It says January 21st, the Monkees and the Harlem Globetrotters, which is like I assumed the Harlem Globetrotters went on first, and they would just like do basketball stuff, unless they also had a band and they're up there like Sly Stone.
Started out as a band.
Yeah, it wasn't paying the bills, so they started playing basketball. But yeah, so then they show the arena and it's packed. Super packed, and you see the boys getting ready, and it's almost like you can feel the nerves of it. like them kind of pacing around, getting ready. They're putting like on like foundation or whatever, so they're not shiny on stage and stuff.
Yep.
That's where you see they're TV guys and then musicians. And so they have the big Vox speakers that they then open up and they jump out of. Boom! And I always think that's cool, them jumping out of the speakers like that. That's pretty rad. And so Bobby Hart was saying that the Monkees look like seasoned performers from the beginning. Like they might have, they were the first band to use like rear screen projections and video on stage as well. So they were saying. He would always say that Mickey always brought the house down with his James Brown impression doing the Ray Charles song, I've Got a Woman. Which is, it's funny to see when it does come up in a little bit. And here's where Peter says this concert had 11,000 people and the biggest they ever played was 18,000. But Mike says that there was 20,000 people at that show. So, who knows?
I don't know.
Have to check the stubs. Peter was saying at one show a girl jumped over all the security and landed on Peter, and she just wouldn't let go of him. And they had to like pry her off of Peter somehow.
Oh man.
And he said it felt like they were always in a tunnel, like they're in a limo to the stage, from the stage to a limo to a plane to a hotel to a limo to a stage. And he said it was just like one long thing, exactly the same all the time, which you hear a lot of bands talk about.
Absolutely.
So Clarksville starts. Sounds good. Sounds really good, actually. Yeah. And Mickey's playing the drums and singing. They play Sweet Young Thing after that. Sounds really awesome. Mm-hmm. And the montage of the live stuff is great. Like fast cuts, getting a lot in there, making you feel the energy of the show, which I really feel is a great move for the editors and for everybody to really pump that up. Because I'm sure we talked about this before, but like the super fast cuts and that stuff wasn't around a whole lot at that time. And these guys were doing it in the show. And then with the live performance cutting that fast too, I thought was really, really, really sweet. There's Mary Mary. It's kind of cut up. They have a bunch of antics, Peter and Mickey. And you can also, this is reminiscent of the Monkees live 1967 disc.
Yes, totally.
But yeah, the Mary Mary part. And then Mike puts his hat on Mickey's head. And then he intros Peter for his solo set. Right. Then Peter was saying that they in 66 and 67, they came out of the big Vox amps. But in 97, he says that they would appear. All the smoke and stuff would come and they'd come up from like under the stage. Like it was a magic trick kind of thing they were doing 30 years later. And then Peter lays out the dream lineup from Words. Like the Words video from a couple episodes ago with like Davey on drums, Mike on bass, Peter guitar, and Mickey's the front man. He's like, that if we were a real band, quote unquote, from the beginning, that probably would have been our setup.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was cool to actually hear someone say that. And Mike says that the playing an arena is a really strange feeling because you can't see anything or hear anything. It's like they didn't have a regular sound guy because they're from a TV show, so they would use the local sound guy wherever they were. So he's trying to mix this stuff to be heard, and he said it was often really hard to hear.
Yeah.
I
think they overdubbed the lead vocals for this. Like the actual, you couldn't hear the vocals because of all the screaming, so they had to add in some stuff later.
But yeah, no, I agree. You could tell at some parts it was you couldn't hear anything at all, and you just kind of see them and hear something kind of in the background, and then these vocals would kind of sneak in. So that was nice. Hey, Monkees fans. Because this episode is so long, we've had to split it into 2 parts. So this is the end of part 1. But we do have a special honorary slip-in segment to go into the Randomatic Countdown. So here comes that. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next week.
For a special, because it is the last show of the season, we're going to do, and because I think by the time this airs, we'll have the little theme jingle ready.
Yeah.
We could do a couple honorary slip-ins. Where instead of just drawing the songs at random from the Wool-Hatted Mystery, we pick out a couple tunes that are outside the hat, which contains the album songs and the singles. But B-sides, outtakes, whatevers, that's what the honorary slip-in is for. Therefore, today, we're each going to pick a tune before we get to the hat. and pop it into our Randomatic Countdown in a less than random way, but it's how we give props to the lesser known tunes.
Yes, this is the deep, deep cuts for the deep, deep fans.
Yes. Well, would you like to go first today?
Oh, I could go first. I will say I had a couple going, and I wasn't too sure where I was going to go with this one.
Okay.
So I'm up in the air, but I'm going to go with one because we'll probably do another honorary slip in, at least one more, probably twice for next season. So I'll save one.
We're going to do a bunch next season.
Yeah. So I am going with a Mike Nesmith tune. It is on Missing Links Volume 2, If I Ever Get to Saginaw Again.
Oh, snap daisy.
If I ever get to Saginaw again, a locale that's somewhat off the beaten track.
It's not even one of my most favorite Mike B-side kind of songs, but when I think of it, the whole song unravels to me. I know the whole thing. It just comes right back to me. Mainly because that Missing Links Volume 2 is hands down the best Missing Links, I feel. And
yes, I think you're right.
I remember when I found that record, first it had Valerie on it, and it had this, it had so many other great songs, and I just listened to it like crazy. And so this is a song that's just burned into me. And one of the things that hits me with this song, there's a line where Mike says, what's the line? Something, it makes me hurt or something like that. And in his voice, you feel the pain.
You feel the pain.
He's like, makes me hurt. And it's just like, oh man, that's heavy.
You gave her love and made me hurt. And when you find
this is like a Glenn Campbell tune, and it's like in the way that it's like sort of a country rock run-on sentence about your experiences with the city.
Yeah, exactly.
Specific to a city, and yeah, it just puts the pictures in your mind, and it's like
it's a great Mike song, like a signature Mike song almost.
Yeah, even though it is obviously a lesser known one, but that's a good call, Paco. Where would you like to slip it in the old Randomatic Countdown?
Let's put this one between Magnolia Sims and Oklahoma Backroom Dancer at number 49.
Okay. That's a good spot. Yeah, let's do that. Quite the Mike zone there.
It really is.
It was rumored that I was going to select a shitty tune in order to bury it in the jellies. However, I decided not to do that because we're still pretty early in the honorary slip-in game. So, you know what? And also, it's kind of episode appropriate. We're going down Cripple Creek.
Ooh, nice.
Well, I married a wife in the month of June, married her up by the light of the moon. We live down on Cripple Creek, we've been down there about a week. I'm going down to Cripple Creek, I'm going on a run, going down to Cripple Creek to have some fun. Going down to Cripple Creek, I'm going on a run, going down to Cripple Creek to have some fun.
It keeps coming up. It's a great Peter moment. The fans love it every time it shows up.
It's true.
And it's just a good tune. And due to the nature of the Monkees, there's not a ton of Peter on here. So any chance we have to get another Peter tune, especially one as beloved as Cripple Creek, and he clearly has a good time playing it every time.
Definitely.
It was just on the show. So, hey.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Let's put it in there.
I would also say, for me, obviously I saw it in the episode, when I first saw the episode, but I didn't really know what it was. And then when the Live 67 album came out, and it was essentially this tour, and Peter has his little moment, he sings Cripple Creek, that was the first time I was like, oh, look at this. So, no, that's a good call.
Of course, on our Pool It Live special, it makes an appearance.
Yep.
It kind of saves the day.
It's very true. It's very true. Yeah, when he plays it in that club at the Pool It thing, that crowd goes off.
For real.
And again, like Mike said, you don't expect this to be the song the crowd is going to gravitate towards, but they always do.
Yep.
It's the banjo. people are always down on banjo, but when someone who's good at banjo starts playing, people are like, damn, that is good. People are always impressed with the banjo.
So anyway, Cripple Creek, it's going in the countdown.
Where do you feel this should end up?
How about between As We Go Along and Tomorrow's Gonna Be Another Day? It'll end up being number 40.
Okay.
Unless you think that's a touch high. I think maybe Tomorrow's Gonna Be Another Day is a touch high, now that I look at it.
Yeah, but, I agree. But yeah, no, the ones around it, yeah, no, that's a good spot for it, I think.
All right, let's pop it in.
Like I say, it's definitely below As We Go Along, but it can definitely be above. Tomorrow's Going to Be Another Day. Boom. Sneaks into the top 40. The top 40, Cripple Creek. So that wraps up part 1 from Monkees on Tour. Thanks so much for sticking with us, and we look forward to next week to wrapping up season 1.